Hello, everyone. It's just another day in the life of a military wife. And last week we were talking about something that was fun, lighthearted, something I enjoy, which is Olympics and all that. This week we are going to get a little bit more down to brass tacks and discuss some things that are important and informative. So we're discussing mental health and the different resources that are provided for service members and their families. I am your host, Sam Wolf, and this is Life of a Military Wife. So welcome back. We are discussing, like I said, mental health. And behavioral health sort of stuff. And this is a topic that is becoming more and more approachable generally in society. I feel like people are more comfortable asking for help, looking for help, but I don't always feel like there's a comprehensive understanding of the absolute magnitude of resources available. And so part of what I wanted to do is talk about all the different resources available, or at least not all, because all is really hard. But especially with military families, there's a lot of stresses and strains and things that happen to service members in combat or just in garrison or to their family members with all the separations and anxiety and moving all the time that happens, and the fact that they don't have a typical support system of their families nearby. So technology has helped with alleviating some of those stresses and strains, but still they exist and they can cause crises. I've talked about some of the resources I encountered in my degree program, studying family life and pre-therapy and all of that. And I think those are still really great resources and stuff in general. But if you have a hard time applying those things on your own in the abstract, it's really nice to sometimes have someone to talk to or something more hands-on. And we're going to discuss a lot of that sort of stuff today. And the reason here, this is just a snippet, a very brief example of why this is so important. So according to the 2020 Health of the Force report put out by the United States Army, in regards to behavioral health, the diagnosis of one or more behavioral health disorders was about 16% of soldiers. And that is a relatively constant percentage that has been persistent over the last 5 years. And that may not sound like a lot, but that's just the ones that they have. There's a lot of different resources out there, so not everyone goes to behavioral health when they have a problem. A lot of people don't get the help when they have problems, and that is unfortunate. So I want to just address what is out there. And since I've already mentioned behavioral health in general, I'm going to approach that one first. Behavioral health is kind of the more therapy medical side of mental health care. It addresses issues like alcohol abuse, combat and post-traumatic stress, domestic violence, drug and substance abuse, counseling and marital and family therapy, traumatic brain injury care, sexual assault, suicide, and self-harm. So it's a lot more of those medical diagnoses and things like that. Now, I know where we're currently stationed, there are 2 sections of behavioral health, I guess you could say. There's the one that does a lot more of the counseling aspect of it, and then there's like the ones that are attached to the hospital that can actually do more of the medication side of it. And I've known people who've used all these different programs, and I'm really grateful that we have all these different programs because I've seen those benefits in the lives of others around me. And I will admit, we've even used a few for our family because you just need someone to talk to sometimes. And that's the important thing, is understanding that there's just someone to talk to when you need it. And sometimes when you move to a brand new duty station and your spouse isn't around and you don't have family around and you're struggling with whatever, just life in general, it's good to have someone to talk through your problems with. So that is behavioral health. They've got a lot of different programs. I know that they have been really busy this last year, but they've got great people. And I've known some people who've even worked for behavioral health, and they were absolutely wonderful, professional, kind people. So if that's the direction you feel like you or your service member needs to go, do it. Follow it. They're awesome. Another is the Military and Family Life Counseling Program, and that is shortened down to MFLAC. I know that MFLACs are pretty common. They're in a lot of the military schools to help out the kids. They're embedded with the units. They don't actually go into the field, but they are definitely in garrison. And the military family life counselors are a very different aspect from behavioral health. This is a non-medical form of counseling. So they mostly address issues such as improving your relationships at home and at work, stress management, adjustment to difficulties, parenting, and grief and loss. And I will admit, I love our MFLACs. We've had some really great MFLACs at my kids' schools, and they were just a resource for my kids when my husband was deployed. They could just talk about how much they missed daddy to somebody who understood. And that is great. It is always wonderful for kids to have a resource where they can talk about their feelings in a safe place. And sometimes because they love us, they're concerned of talking about how much they miss daddy because they don't want to make us sad too, which is something I've talked to my kids about, that I would rather us talk about it together than them to bottle up their emotions. But having a safe place for your kids to talk about how they feel about all of the stressors they're dealing with is really just wonderful. I'm grateful for that resource. So another set of resources is the Military Crisis Line. Now, we're going from a lot of the in-person, which is MFLAC and behavioral health. Those are a lot more in-person. Before I get to I'm going to switch gears for 5 seconds. Instead of getting to some of these other ones just yet, I'm going to skip over to the military chaplains because I want to wrap up a little bit more with the in-person stuff instead of bouncing around. So military chaplains are... Most people, when they think about them, they think of like, okay, they do religious services and all of that sort of stuff and funerals and marriages and all that normal stuff. And yes, chaplains do that. They do religious education. They do all of that. But something else that they do is counseling. They do therapy. Now, it is the normally non-medical, like they can't give a prescription for anything. They're a chaplain. But so let's say you have a problem and you're sitting here going, I don't really feel comfortable going and talking to a therapist, but you're a religious person. You can go to your unit's chaplain or to the family life chaplains that are on the post, and they have a lot of resources. They've got different classes and programs that they teach and help with. And so, for example, the family life chaplains will help out with couples therapies, family therapy. 4 Weeks to a Better Marriage is another program they do. They do marriage retreats, which we will definitely talk about in more detail because those are amazing. They do crisis intervention and management, suicide prevention, and they have counseling centers and everything themselves. So if you're not comfortable going to like a medical professional or a typical counselor or therapist, this is a good option. And I'm really grateful that there is such a wide variety of options because the need is really high. And burnout for these individuals is a real thing. And so the more variety of options we have, the more likely people are going to go and get the help they need. because there's some type of help that they are most comfortable with. And then they're not swamped to the point where they can't actually provide for everyone's needs or assist as many people. So it broadens the amount of people that they can reach out to, and it allows an aspect of choice to those who are needing help. So I'm really grateful for those three major programs. There's a lot of other smaller programs because there's times where people don't want to admit to another human being in face-to-face about their problems. Or these programs are open mostly during business hours. They're not a 24/7 thing. So if you have a crisis or a situation that happens during non-business hours, being able to reach out to someone else and talk to someone else, even if it's not face-to-face, can be a huge blessing. And that is where I'm going back to the military crisis line. So the military crisis line is 100% confidential. You can call, you can text, or you can chat like over the internet with them. You don't have to just call them. So if you don't want to talk to someone, but you just want to text someone and have a conversation, that's fine. They are able to do that, and it is open 24/7, which is the major difference to a lot of these other programs, is that it's accessible whenever you need it. And it's not just suicide prevention, because I know that in a lot of cases, people think that it's mostly focused on that sort of stuff, and it's not. It actually can just be about any crisis you're having. They'll talk you through it, and they'll help you get to a point. If there's someone in your family, if you're worried about your service member, you can call and talk to them about that and what better resources to help with them. They're just a really wonderful option. So it's not just for the service member, this hotline, this crisis line. It's for veterans, it's for the service members, it's for National Guard and reserves and their family members and friends. So if you have a friend who you feel has been struggling, this is a great resource for you to figure out what you can do to help them. And it's staffed by professionals or trained responders. They're professional. And then you can get to them directly. It's not like you have to call and then wait and a whole lot of stuff. Their whole goal is to get you to someone you can talk to directly, a human being, as quickly as possible. And that's super important, because usually when we have those moments of crisis, it's good to be able to talk it out with someone. And if we don't, again, have that support system nearby, this is one of those resources that's available 24/7, and you don't have to make an appointment for. Then in the process, just like always happens when I'm doing these things. So I've gone through this a couple times, and I cannot believe the amount of resources I've found. There's a lot of resources that are just open to the general public. They're not even directly military resources. And then there's a lot of resources that are online. Again, the chaplains have tons, and FLAC has tons. There's all these different programs. But then one thing, then I knew about a lot of them, but I was going through and I was looking at all this stuff, and then all of a sudden I stopped and I realized I found one that I hadn't seen before on this one website, and it's called Moving Forward. And again, I talk really fast and I go through some of these things really quickly, mostly because I don't want these episodes to take your entire day. But if you're listening and you're like, wait, go back, I need to check this or that. Again, links will be in the description. As always, I try to always give you access to the resources I find. And this next one I'm putting in there because I cannot believe I did not know this existed. And it's called Moving Forward. It's an online course that teaches skills to help you overcome stressful problems and meet your goals. It is 100% free. It requires absolutely no registration. You don't have to give any personal identifiers to it, and it is a self-paced online course. And it blew my mind. I kind of went down a rabbit hole with this one. When I research, I just try to get basic information, working information to pass on to you guys, and I sort through what I find is, or personally feel is, the most valuable. I have to be completely honest. When I found this resource, I got so caught up in it that I started actually going through it myself and doing the program because I was so excited about it. And the reason why I'm so excited and nerding about this, and I'm just going to be completely straight, I was nerding out about it a little bit, is because it takes a lot of those concepts that I have discussed previously that I learned in college in my adaptation and resiliency class, and it applies it. It helps you apply it. And I couldn't believe that. I was absolutely shocked that this resource was out there and I had never heard about it before. And it's actually put together by the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. And when you go to the website, because it's not when, everyone should go to this website. It discusses different techniques like deep breathing, muscle relaxation, visualization, all of those sorts of things. But it also has a problem-solving worksheet that you can use at any time. It's interactive, or there's one that you can print out. There's a bunch of different documents. There's videos you can watch. There's games for this. And then there's the actual course itself. And I just could not believe that this existed. It was so amazing. And when I was going through the worksheet, I just was impressed because what it does is, and if you remember the ABCX model that I put up on Facebook and that I was describing to you, basically it breaks it down into, okay, what is the stressor? What are your resources? And kind of helps you with your perspective. And it goes through what the different signs of stress are and everything. And so it's like, are you having negative thoughts and feelings and all the different signs of stress? Define the problem and set realistic goals. And it's huge because I think sometimes when we're facing problems, we get all caught up in the problem and we don't start thinking about, okay, how can we solve it? Or if we do, we get overwhelmed with the thought of overcoming it. And it's important to break it down to some realistic goals. So I love that. It says, so you define the problem, so you describe it, and then you start to think through how you could solve it. So be realistic. Try to think into small things. Because, for example, okay, let's say you're stressed out because your husband's deployed and you're having to take care of the kids all by yourself, which this is not unrealistic, and you feel burned out, which that totally happens. That is a realistic problem faced by numerous military spouses all over the world all the time. And so that's the problem. Realistically, okay, you can't just say, I want my husband to come home. They're a service member. They're going to come home when they come home, unless it's an actual emergency, not just you miss them and you're stressed out and you're having a hard time. They need to stay there. That's what they're doing. They're serving our country. You've got to find a way to work through it. And so being realistic is, okay, maybe I need some self-care. Maybe I need some time to myself. So what's a realistic goal? I could go for a walk or something like that. Or maybe it's, I'm so exhausted. Maybe I need to go to bed when the kids go to bed, because there's this tendency to not go to, I don't know, I tend to stay up late when my husband's not home. And I've realized that getting to bed on time and getting a full night's sleep is huge to being able to handle dealing with the kids by myself. So that's a realistic goal that you could set for that problem. You're feeling stressed and overwhelmed because your husband's gone and you're having to deal with everything by yourself. Okay, a realistic goal, I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep. Now, if you have a newborn baby, that might be a little harder, but by and large, that's a realistic thing that you can work towards. It might be a little harder depending on your personal situation, but it's doable. I've been having a little bit of more of a dry throat this week, and I just think it's the bad air pollution, but whatever. Moving on, then it wants you to go through obstacles to achieving that goal. So let's say, again, your obstacle to achieving that goal is you've got a baby. Okay, so think about any barriers or conflicts or opposition, lack of skills and resources, or emotional difficulties. So yeah, let's say it's, you have a baby and that baby wakes you up in the middle of the night. Okay, think of an alternative way of achieving your goal. So maybe you won't be able to just get the typical 8 hours straight. Maybe when your baby naps in the afternoon, instead of cleaning or watching Netflix, you can take a nap as well. Sometimes we just have to be flexible. But anyway, I'm not going to go through the whole worksheet with you, but it's absolutely incredible. I love this resource. I'm so excited I found it. I am personally going to use it right away and probably talk about it nonstop to everyone for like a week. But I just want to give a level of hope here. I'm going to be talking about this more in the future, but it's not easy being in the military. And a lot of us signed up for it in theory, knowing that it wasn't going to be easy. I think it's a surprise still to everyone, or at least most everyone, about how hard it is and in what ways it's hard. Sorry, I got briefly interrupted by doggy, but anyway, that it's not easy. It's not easy, and I don't think we're always used to being away from our support system. And so finding these resources and helping each other out and pointing each other in the right direction is huge. But we did this because, my dog and her bell. I'm just going to keep going. We made the choice to serve because we love our country. It doesn't make it easy, but there are ways to work through the problems that come. And I'm going to leave you on that, and I'm going to leave you with you're not alone. There is a huge military community out there. You've got friends, you've got family. If you are feeling alone, please reach out to one of these sources. There are people who want to help you, and I'm always willing to talk to. I mean, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a professional, but if you're looking for a resource, I'm willing to help look for it. Maybe I know it, or maybe another spouse does. So, take care. You can do this. You can do hard things. And again, I'm your host, Sam Wolf, and this is Life of a Military Wife.